Welcome to the 2022 Association for Asian American Studies Awards ceremony. My name is Evelyn Real, Program Manager for International Students and Scholars at Harvey Mudd College. It is always a special honor to review and discuss the activities of our colleagues whose depth of insight, creativity, and generosity inspires us. Having to choose just one winner from among multiple nominations always presents an unsolvable dilemma. The past year saw many positive and meaningful accomplishments. Here are the 2022 Association for Asian American Studies General Award winners. For early career, Victoria Reyes. With a Sociology PhD 2015 from Princeton University, Dr. Reyes now holds the post of Assistant Professor of Gender and Sexuality Studies at the University of California, Riverside. Her most recent publications include the book Global Borderlands, Fantasy, Violence, and Empire in Subic Bay, Philippines by the Stanford University Press. This book received our 2021 AAAS Book Award for Outstanding Achievement in the Social Sciences. Since 2019, she has also published research articles in Context, Social Forces, Ethnography, and the Journal of Southeast Asian Studies. With regards to working with students at UC Riverside, graduate students in sociology awarded Dr. Reyes Mentor of the Year in 2020. Her demonstrated commitments to Asian American studies as a field and to supporting diversity, equity, inclusion in the classroom uphold the values of AAAS and deserve early career recognition. The Engaged Scholar Award winner is Adrian De Leon. Dr. Adrian De Leon is a public historian, creative writer, and poet. In the wake of the May 2021 Atlanta massacre, De Leon teamed up with the documentarian Dolly Lee to create a People's History of Asian America, a PBS series on anti-Asian racism and Asian American politics for Gen Z and millennial viewers. The series was chosen as a finalist in the category of Best History Short Format at the World Congress of Science and Factual Producers. As an expert on anti-Asian violence and Asian American politics, he has been featured in the Los Angeles Times, Vice, The Guardian, The Conversation, as well as numerous podcasts and radio shows. He continues to write on race and popular culture for PBS Digital Studios. De Leon's published writings include two poetry collections, Rouge and Barangay, an offshore poem, a co-edited literary anthology featuring Canadian writers, Fieldways, and a debut novel that straddles social thriller and academic satire, currently under consideration at a major trade press. With a history PhD from the University of Toronto in 2019, Dr. De Leon currently holds the post of Assistant Professor of American Studies and Ethnicity at University of Southern California. 6 peer-reviewed research essays have been published in Trans-Asia Photography, Amerasia, Radical History Review, Food Culture and Society, and Gastronomica, Journal of Critical Food Studies. 2 scholarly monographs are currently under contract with university presses. De Leon sits on the Board of Trustees for the Filipino American National Historical Society. The Excellence in Mentorship Award winner is Celine Pareñas Shimizu. The AAAS Mentorship Committee, in conjunction with the AAS Awards Committee, is pleased to present the Association's 2022 Excellence in Mentorship Award to Dr. Celine Pareñas Shimizu. A film scholar and filmmaker, Dr. Shimizu has over 20 years of experience in academia and the arts. She has authored 4 published monographs and 5 documentaries or experimental narrative films. In reviewing her impressive nomination materials, our committee noted Dr. Shimizu's remarkable long-term contributions to her students' careers through artistic and technical education in filmmaking, as well as scholarly training and inspiration in Asian American gender, sexuality, and cinema studies. Shimizu's former students expressed wanting to emulate the mentorship that Shimizu has provided them, thus speaking to the long-lasting effects of her guidance. Shimizu's mentorship thus truly generates and regenerates the field. Dr. Shimizu's willingness to transform her teaching in response to student need and her commitment to public scholarship that responds to conversations outside the academy. Currently Dean of the Division of the Arts and Distinguished Professor of Film and Media at the University of California, Santa Cruz, Dr. Celine Parreña Shimizu has and continues to make a lasting impact on Asian American studies. The Best Graduate Student Paper Award is Sam Ikehara. The AAAS Graduate Student Paper Award Committee is pleased to present the Association's 2022 Best Graduate Student Paper Award to Sam Ikehara. Born and raised on Oahu, Sam Ikehara is a PhD candidate in American Studies and Ethnicity at the University of Southern California. Her research examines the inner and afterlives of U.S. and Japanese empires in Asia and the Pacific through a consideration of air, wind, and breath. Her paper titled The Body in Heat, Race, Relief, and the Tropical Atmosphere offers a powerful investigation of imperial imaginaries of race, climate, and island interchangeability through a uniquely compelling methodology of analyzing postcards from the Japanese Imperial Archive. These postcards, she argues, operate at the nexus of militarism and tourism that render distinct geographies as interchangeable and disposable under empire. In response, Ikehara develops an atmospheric mode of relation premised on distance that promises effective and embodied sensibilities that refuse the violent projects of empire in developing more capacious modes of relationality. This work has great potential in developing critical analysis of the Japanese Empire within Asian American studies and its transnational global turn. Our Community Organization Award goes to Colorado Asian Pacific United. Our final award is given to a local community organization this year that we are pleased to honor the Colorado Asian Pacific United, a coalition of Asian and Pacific Islander American leaders, creatives, and allies who strive to enhance and enrich the Asian American and Pacific Islander experiences in Colorado. An organization that is committed to advancing racial diversity, solidarity, and equity through community collaboration, celebration, and education. We are thrilled to honor the extraordinary scholars and writers who are the recipients of the 2022 AAAS Book Awards for books published in 2020. The many brilliant submissions we received truly speak to the vibrancy and capaciousness of Asian American studies, and we are especially grateful to all the selection subcommittee chairs and members for their service. Here are the 2022 Association for Asian American Studies Book Award winners and honorees. The winner of the 2022 AAAS Book Award for Outstanding Achievement in History is Uzma Qureshi for redefining the immigrant South, Indian and Pakistani immigration to Houston during the Cold War. The selection subcommittee commended it as an outstanding book about the heretofore unexamined history of South Asian immigration to Houston, Texas, from the 1960s to the 1990s, and noted that the field of Asian American studies, with its Pacific Coast bias, has much to gain from Qureshi's study of class, immigration, and race in Houston and the American South. An honorable mention for outstanding achievement in history goes to Greg Robinson for The Unsung Great, Stories of Extraordinary Japanese Americans, a compilation of short histories about Japanese Americans from the turn of the 20th century to the late 20th century, which impressed the selection subcommittee with its robust archival excavations, accessible and clear prose, and lively Japanese American histories. An honorable mention for outstanding achievement in history goes to Janet K. Lipman for In Camps, Vietnamese Refugees, Asylum Seekers, and Repatriates, a brilliant study of Vietnamese community mobilization, transnational identity formation, and political protest, that the selection subcommittee noted builds on and expands in important ways the field of critical refugee studies. The winner of the 2022 AAAS Book Award for Outstanding Achievement in Creative Writing Prose is E.J. Koh. For The Magical Language of Others, a memoir, the selection subcommittee praised Koh's exquisite lyricism, compelling narrative, and experimentation with form, as the memoir deftly reinvents as well as subverts the trope of generational trauma with its attention to both generational tension and connection. An honorable mention for outstanding achievement in creative writing prose goes to Lisli Tenorio for The Son of Good Fortune, which grapples with the legacy of American imperialism and colonialism through a delicate balance of levity, fantasy, and gravity, and thus pushes Asian American literature into new and exciting territory. The winner of the 2022 AAAS Book Award for Outstanding Achievement in Creative Writing, Poetry is Marianne Chan for All Heathens. The selection subcommittee called it a stunning debut that both yearns and sustains, rescues and survives, that provides an overflowing of rejoicing, and that sings a true note of what it means to be human. The winner of the 2022 AAAS Book Award for Outstanding Achievement in Literary Studies is Christine Hong for A Violent Peace, Race, U.S. Militarism, and Cultures of Democratization in Cold War Asia and the Pacific. The selection subcommittee commended it as a groundbreaking analysis of the mutual constitution of post-World War II domestic race projects and U.S. military empire in Asia and the Pacific, and noted that this compelling interpretation of the interwar and Cold War period urgently uncovers the roots of our contemporary moment. An honorable mention for outstanding achievement in literary studies goes to Long Lei Ha for Giving Form to an Asian and Latinx America, a work that compellingly illuminates how narrative form can generate paradigms for imagining the malleability of cross-ethnic and cross-racial connections in ways that do not collapse difference. The winner of the 2022 AAAS Book Award for Outstanding Achievement in Multidisciplinary Approaches, Media Performance, and Visual Studies is Sean Metzger for The Chinese Atlantic, Seascapes and the Theatricality of Globalization. The selection subcommittee praised how it, with immense care and erudition, provides openings to dwell in the realities and aesthetics, the everyday and the national frameworks, variously organized and disrupted, produced and dispossessed, that evince the vagaries of globalization's unfolding. An honorable mention for outstanding achievement in multidisciplinary approaches, media performance and visual studies is Baki Rathi Mani for Unseeing Empire, Photography Representation, South Asian America. The selection subcommittee recognized it as a model of cultural critique and an invaluable resource for both its insights into visuality, subjectivity, and the histories of empire and colonialism, and for its exemplary execution of aesthetic inquiry. All of these books are exemplars of the incredibly innovative, expansive, and uplifting work being done across Asian American studies and Asian American writing. Our heartfelt congratulations again to all of this year's AAAS Book Award winners and honorees. Thank you for joining us in honoring these dynamic individuals and organizations. We hope to see you in 2023 in Long Beach, California.